This is Cassandra Harris Lockwood, and this is the Hot Seat.
Oh no,
Oh, no.
wrong intro.
Thank
Well,
you.
I mean, it is Wednesday, so it isn't actually Monday, but I am here today. This is Ron Klopfenstein, and it's New Year's Day, so the big boss took the day off. So I'm here today with a bonus Hot Seat Media Monday, and this is kind of like part 3 of a 3-part thing we did here. It was 2024. The year in local arts, entertainment, and media. We talked to people from stage and people, musicians, and we talked to balloon artists and actors and opera singers. And so today we have a friend of the show, Brian Lazore, is here. He's been here to talk about photography before. He's of course involved with Utica royalties, but this year he launched a podcast. In 2025, if it's that is the thing. The podcasting is definitely the new kind of media now. So I want to hear all about his podcast. We're also going to talk to Baby Wayne. He is he's a DJ here at 95.5 FM The Heat. Plays reggae music. We're going to talk about that. He's just back from Jamaica. So let's start with you, Brian Lazore. So you've been on the show talking about your photography in the past.
Yep, thank you for having me back, and Happy New Year to you and the radio station.
Yeah, Happy New Year. And of course, we love the pictures that you take are amazing. I always love to share the pictures you take of me and stuff, and incredible work.
Thank you.
What made you decide to give podcasting a try?
Well, when I first started doing photography and getting out in the public and working with folks like Amos Donnell and J. Watts Productions and even Utica Royalties, I've seen different various performers and artists and especially in some of the art galleries that some people in the local community never heard of. So I figured, back in March, I said, I kind of want to do a show where I'm interviewing these artists and comedians I'm meeting, the photographers and the musicians and stuff like that. And then I finally, last month I decided just to do it, and I already recorded episode 5 and episode
was in it.
1 through 3. Yep, I appreciate you being a guest. And
So once you had the idea and you decided, what stuff did you have to get? Like, what kind of hardware do you need to do a podcast?
I didn't need anything. It's actually a video cast / podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just utilizing all my equipment I already have for my photography business. I did buy microphones. That's about the only thing I bought.
Okay, so like 2 microphones.
Yeah, I used 2 cameras,
Yep.
two microphones, and I tried with 3 cameras, and that was just a disaster.
Well, it can be harder with a 1-man show to cut between 3. cameras.
Yeah. And it's been a learning experience. I have no production background, and I'm not really a good speaker, so I mean it's been a fun journey.
Well, you seem like a good speaker on the show so far. I mean, so what have you learned? It's you've done how many episodes now?
I recorded 5. I aired 3 so far.
Yep.
Episode 4 drops next week.
Yep.
And I've been releasing 1 every 2 weeks, but I think I might switch it up to 1 a month, just because the editing time when you're working with 2 cameras and 2 mics, like we talked behind the scenes, it takes forever to edit, because each time you talk and then the other person talks, you have to edit and cut those scenes when you're going back and forth.
So I just taped one with you. So like when I was taping with you, we both had a mic. You were asking me questions, I was answering them. You're gonna take both of those tapes and kind of cut them together?
Yep. The last one I did for episode 3 took me about 12 hours or more.
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask you what the time is.
Yeah, it varies depending on how often people are talking or whatnot. So the show's not about me, so I tend to let my guests talk a little longer than I probably should, but that's to my benefit too.
Well,
it's less editing.
I mean, it takes a while. This is I've been doing this since April, and I'm still getting a feel for it too. I really thought you had a good proportion hosting it. The taping you did with me and stuff. What were some of the challenges? What are some of the hardest, other than the time and the
just the setup and background, like I do in my living room, which is an actual studio I use for my photography business. But just the spacing is so small and the lighting, and each time you have a guest come in to my studio, I have to reset everything up, and I can never get the background just right or this and that. But it's a learning experience, and it's nothing formal. It's $0 production, and hopefully down the road I'll get sponsors or advertising.
Well, I mean, I could tell that you approach it as a photographer because you're very careful with the lighting and how things are angled, and really, I definitely can't wait to see the episode that I did. What are some of the shows you've done so far that you've already aired?
Episode 1 was with an actor who was in Doc Hollywood, 1990.
Yeah,
Doc
tell me
Hollywood.
about him.
His name is Patrick Michael McCall. He's from the Utica area.
Uh-huh.
In that episode, we
So he's from Utica, and he was like at one time he lived in Hollywood, or
well, he moved out to California, and he landed a couple of acting roles as an extra.
yeah,
And then back in those days, he was allowed to go to. They paid guests to like the Arsenio Hall show and stuff like that. They actually
Yeah.
paid guests to be part of the audience,
oh really?
and
I
they got
didn't
to hang backstage with the music acts like Tupac and
know. Oh,
and
cool.
various other artists. And then he did a couple small acting roles. He landed a small part in Doc Hollywood with Michael J. Fox, and then his mother got sick.
Yeah. Oh,
So he moved back to New York. He gave up his acting career,
wow.
and he ended up in radio working with K-Rock.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he did a lot of the commercials for like McGill's up in Schuyler, and he started a band, the Blob Mob,
Uh-huh.
and it was pretty, it was heavy metal and
Yeah.
rock band, and they were pretty popular
So-
back in their time.
So he must have had a lot of really good stories.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could probably sit with him for hours and hours more because
Well,
of his background.
how do you cut it down? Like, when I mean, that's I always think that that's really hard myself. And one thing about doing the show like this with an actual time slot and like commercial breaks and stuff is it kind of forces me to like stay within the lines. But when I do stories where I write and I interview people and like sometimes like I'll talk and talk and talk, then you get back and think I only need like a third of this. How do you decide like what to cut?
Well, I don't have no time limit because it's my show. It can be
Right,
as long as I
right.
want it to.
That's one of the nice things
But
about
I wanna-
podcast. You have the length can be as long as you
Yeah, I
want.
want to try to keep it around an hour. If it goes over, that's fine. But I've been releasing it on YouTube, and then on Spotify I can release the video, which
Yeah.
it turns into audio as well. So you can listen on
Right.
Spotify or Amazon Music. You can listen to it.
Yeah.
And then I've been starting to release episodes like the week after I release it on the other platforms. I release it on Facebook as well.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And you never know who you're going to get
That's a
watching
good
it
idea,
because
yeah.
it depends on if the person is interested or not.
Right,
Like my
right.
second episode got less views than the first one, and then I don't know. I haven't been keeping track of episode 3.
But that's pretty normal. Like the premiere is kind of high, then you dip a bit. But I think one thing that you're gonna find that like I found too is that after a while, like after months and months, your old episodes will have legs.
Yeah.
Because like it's not so much like because it's not necessarily like a news thing where like it's out of date. Like if you interview someone who's interesting in February, people may start to listen to your show like that fall in September. Then they might go back and like check out the old
Yeah,
episodes.
and it just all depends on who you're interviewing too. Like if
Yeah.
if they're known or depending on what genre of area they're working in.
Right. So what kinds of what podcasts do you listen to? What podcasters do you think do
Well,
a
I've
good
been
job?
I've been practicing a lot. Ever
was
since I met
wondering.
you, I've listened to you. I've done
Oh, hey, yeah.
your
Well,
workshop
oh my
too
gosh,
that you
thank
did
you.
at the museum.
Wow.
Or not the museum, the library.
Library.
And
Gosh,
then I listened to Joe
it
Rogan.
means a lot to me.
And then Fat Joe Talks.
Yeah.
I've been watching him just to try to learn, to get some tips and stuff for interviewing. And
What kind of tips?
It's about
I'm
talking.
like that too.
Because
I
you have to
listen
know,
too.
you have to know when to interrupt the person talking,
Yes.
and
yeah.
not do it in an offensive way. But you have to keep the ball rolling and not go too long on a certain
Yep.
particular subject.
And that is hard,
Yeah.
right? Don't you think that's hard?
Well, it can be
I
hard,
always
but,
find
but
that
like my platform, I don't have a time limit. You do,
Yeah.
so you
Oh,
definitely
true.
have to cut people off and move on
Yeah.
to another topic. But mine, I can let somebody talk for 2 minutes if I want to. But
It's like crazy hard when I'm doing things on the phone. Like if somebody calls in, because if you're talking to someone on the phone, like if someone's right there, like say if you're answering a question and I know it's almost commercial time, I can kind of look at you with this look like, come on. But on the phone, it's hard because you
Yeah.
never know. So
I plan on starting to do some Zoom interviews as well, because I have
Yeah.
potentially I have some guests lined up who are out of state. The guy who wrote the Christmas letter movie here in Utica.
Oh, cool.
He said he'd be on my show, so either I'm going to go out to him or we'll do a Zoom.
Nice.
from the guy from episode 1, he knows the pizza delivery guy who was in the Home Alone movie. So I might
so like
interview him.
networking.
Yeah, so I've been networking with guests. I kind of started off doing people I know.
Yep.
Like episode 2 was comedian Jay Watch.
Yep.
And then episode 3 was Jamaica Thomas from Cornhill Publishing.
Yep. Yep.
And then episode 4 was
Jermico's a great guest
yeah,
too.
he's great.
Yeah, he's always doing stuff, and you go get her type. So yeah, I bet that I haven't heard that one yet, but I got to listen to that one. So what are some things that surprised you about people you talk to? Because it's one thing to know somebody, but to like really sit down with them to interview them for a podcast.
Well, my interviews are more candid, so I want to get nitty gritty. Who are you?
Yeah,
I have time compared to where you don't, so I want to know, their background, where they grew up, how was growing up, and I want to try to squeeze an inspirational story out of them. If it was somebody who's bullied, how they overcome that bullying, or if it's somebody who had struggled with addiction, how did they overcome that and become a success? Success is can vary from person to person, and it doesn't matter what your level of success is. I want that motivational, inspiring story. So on my show, Off the Record with Lazore Photography, that it can inspire somebody else.
Right. So do you think that's coming across?
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does seem like,
right. It takes a while, but it's I think it's good to have that in your head, like that's what you want to do. That's what you're aiming for and stuff.
Yeah.
So you got to have a goal. So, Baby Wayne, let's head over to you there. So like, you are one of the DJs here on 95.5 FM The Heat. You have two different time slots, and you play different kind of different genre in each time slot, right?
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about like what it is you do here and what your shows are like?
Okay, so I have 2 shows. I have one on Thursday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay.
So there's the one on Thursday. It's reggae.
Yep.
Reggae. You have reggae, hardcore reggae, but like Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Burning Spears, those type of artists. Plus you have like the dancehall reggae, hardcore, like Sanchez, Perry Salmon. Those are big names in reggae.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mix a bunch of that. I try to give everybody that reggae vibes on Thursday.
Yep.
So it's more mellow and smooth.
Yeah.
On Saturday now, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., that's dancehall.
Okay.
Still reggae.
Yep.
But the hardcore part of reggae.
So what's the difference?
Okay, so it's like you have rock and roll. That's hardcore.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you have the real hardcore rock and roll.
Right, right.
But it's still rock and roll.
So kind of like the difference between say Journey and AC/DC or something like that. Kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have reggae is more smoother.
Yeah.
Dancehall is more hardcore.
Yeah, yeah.
So dancehall brings out more, hyper, level of hypeness, and it goes hard.
Yeah.
So and a lot of younger people gravitate to dancehall.
To that, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea for like a weekend show then.
Right. So I do the dancehall on weekends because people sometimes want to go out there, try to hold a vibe before they go out.
Up before they go.
So that's the 2 different part of it. One is reggae and one is dancehall.
So is reggae your favorite type of music?
I play everything when I go at a party.
Yeah.
When I play at a party, I play everything.
Yeah.
But mostly I'm into reggae because growing up, my uncle was a musician from back in the time of like 1968.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
My uncle was one of the first.
A reggae musician?
Yes.
Yeah.
So with those time with like Bob Marley and all of them other people, they was just coming out,
Yeah.
He was one of them guys, Norris Ware from the Jamaicans.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time I used to be around a lot of musicians.
Right.
As a kid, when I born in the 70s,
Oh yeah.
So I used to be around a lot of artists.
Right, right.
So growing up I used to always see them. Dennis Brown, Bob Marley,
Really?
Jacob Miller.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So you actually saw them?
Yeah, I didn't
Wow.
really know.
Bob Marley too?
Yeah,
Cool.
I didn't really know,
That they were a big deal.
Right, they were a big deal. But growing up, eventually, I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
So my uncle was that person that
Right.
he came out, he did good.
Yeah.
So artists used to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from that time, I didn't play the music, I didn't sing it, and I didn't DJ it.
Right. Right.
I started playing it,
Yeah.
growing up, and
Yeah.
they thought I was gonna play instrument or,
Yeah.
So
did that was that something you considered playing an instrument or?
they was trying to get me to play instruments,
Yeah. But it didn't.
that wasn't my passion.
Yeah. So what was your path? What
Okay,
was?
so I actually went to a party one night.
Yeah.
It was in my area, and what's the sound called? It was a sound system, earthquake. They
Oh.
call it earthquake,
Okay.
and they was using tube amp at the time. One
So probably
amplifier.
had like a lot of bass, right? Like
Yeah,
a quick
one
shake.
amplifier that controls the tweeters.
Yeah.
We call it steel on. You know that
Yep.
it was just a steel on and the bass
Yeah.
at the
yeah.
time. So I went there, saw the guy who was, putting on the music, the turntable, and and I'm like, this is nice. I start watching him.
Yeah.
At the time, he was using one turntable.
Okay.
So it was just one turntable, and then he put the music on and he plays, and then when the singer stopped, then the DJ comes in.
So he talked for the transitions, not blending, not the
No,
blending
he
thing.
wasn't
Yeah,
blending. So
yeah.
when he pulled the music up, he started talking,
Yeah.
and he introduced
Yeah.
the artist that's going to sing or DJ.
Yeah.
So when he did that, and then he played the instrumental side of the rhythm, I'm like, this is exciting. Then I hear the live artist now
Yeah.
start going
Right.
on the beat.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it caught my attention.
Yeah, well,
So-
I can definitely see why. So, hey, we got to hear more about this. So, you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday on Ron Klopfenstein. My guests today are Brian Lazore. He's a photographer. He's been on the show many times in the past, but now he's launching a podcast. So we're talking about podcasting, and also Baby Wayne, who's the DJ here at 95.5. Talking to him about music and about DJing, and I'll have more after the break. Thank you. This is Ron Klopfenstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the hot seat. I know it's a Wednesday, it's not a Monday, but it's New Year's Day. So happy New Year and New Year's Day. So Cassandra Harris Lockwood being CEO, she gets the day off. So I'm here today. So we have the right promo there. So yeah, it's a Media Monday. It's a bonus edition Media Monday. Jay Easy switched it over. It's good, so you know who you're going to be listening to here. And my guests today are Brian Lazore. He's been on the show many times. He's a photographer, does all this great stuff. He took royalties. The best pictures you ever see of me are ones that Brian Lazore took. So all the pictures he takes of me, you're going to see him on Facebook and Twitter and Threads because he takes the best pictures. It's like the pictures you take. Honestly, I feel like they're from a magazine, which is like so blows my mind. They're so great. Well, he's also a podcaster now, so we'll talk about that. And also, Baby Wayne is here, and he is a DJ here at 95.5 FM The Heat, two kinds of reggae, and he's an expert. He just got back from Jamaica.
Yeah.
So tell me about what was going on in Jamaica.
Oh man, it was an artist called Vibes Cartel. He's one of the biggest reggae artists, dancehall artists in Jamaica. He was in jail for like 13 years.
Wow.
12 years, close to 13. So he came out, he had this big concert. We have people flying from everywhere, like from the hotels were sold out.
Really?
So it was a huge show.
Yeah, it must have been exciting.
Yeah, so it was real good. It was an experience.
So when you go down there, like, do you like, you're probably exposed to some new music down there, maybe that you don't hear up here, or
Yes, because remember in Jamaica, reggae music and dancehall music is where it's born. So they have a lot of different stuff that when you hear, you be like, oh, this is playing, oh, that's playing.
Yeah.
That you don't hear for probably in another year.
Right. So it must be like more like maybe authentic, but also like more of like the latest stuff that's
Yes.
developing.
So whatever is there now, it's developing to
Yeah.
cross over, so that we get it later on. But sometimes I cap it and
Well,
I bring it here.
I was gonna
could-
say like you
Remember
know.
where you heard it first.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was gonna say like actually like the 95.5, we're lucky that we have you because
Thank
that
you.
like you actually are the real thing. Like you go there and have the latest stuff, and
Yes.
you know this station is like a special thing because of this. You know this.
I
this
travel
realness.
all over the world and play reggae and dancehall music.
So
You
what do
know?
you see when you travel the world? What are some of your favorite places to go? What are some of the best places to be?
Okay, DC I go a lot.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Virginia, Canada, Anguilla.
What's that?
Anguilla is an island.
Oh really?
St. Croix.
Oh okay, I've
You
heard of
know,
that.
a couple places I can't even remember, but I've been all over
To DJ.
to DJ,
Yeah.
and that's what bring me all in, to all these places.
Right.
Reggae
Well, so
music.
like people are listening to this now and hearing that you get to go DJ like
Mhm.
in the Bahamas and all
Yes.
this place and stuff, and people are going to be thinking like, how do you get that job? Like, how do you do that? Like,
Okay, so
how did you get into this?
okay, so I'm gonna give you a story. I was in Boston one night playing.
Yep.
So from Boston, the promoter was in Boston,
Yep.
and he was like, "This guy can play." See, he said, I live in St. Croix.
Uh huh.
I wanna book you for St. Croix."
Yeah.
And so some of that, that's how I get some of
One
these
leads
gigs.
to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have people hear about me.
Yeah.
They call me or email.
But how do you
text.
get the Boston gig? Like, how do you get those first
same
ones?
same way? Like I would play in Philly,
Yeah.
and someone in Philly hear me and say, "Okay."
Yeah.
So it's just from
Like-
link to links.
Like at first, you like start out to go to parties and stuff, and just kind of play for free, and then like get your name out there.
Well, when I
and,
just started, I used to do a lot of that.
yeah,
I know about that.
I used to do a lot of that.
I was gonna say, Brian, we both know about it's like there's a lot of that when you're breaking in, it's tough. And how do you break in as a photographer? It's a crowded field for
Well,
one
I
thing.
started out doing wildlife photography, landscape, practicing on my dog at home, and I'm like, if I want paying clients, I can't do that. Just do what I want to do. I have to deal with people. So I started going out in the community,
Yep.
taking pictures of events. Like I did 5 Veterans Day event last year and gave out all the photos for free.
Yep.
I did New Year's Eve last year. I gave all those photos out for free.
Yep.
And then I go to, if I hear of a community event that's local, I get out there, take pictures, and do, give the pictures out for free, build up my name until my first client actually contacted me.
Is that happening?
Well, now the exposure's kind of paying off,
Good.
but people are still expecting the free stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
transitioning away from it, from when I want to do it.
Yes.
Like last year, like last night, all the New Year's Eve pictures I took, I'm
Yeah.
selling those pictures if people want them, and it's
Right.
gonna go back in the coffers to help with my charity work
Right.
for like Utica royalties. And then this year I did two events with Santa Claus where the pictures were free for the community, just to give a family experience who couldn't afford
You really
photos.
do a lot for that community. I was
When
gonna
I
say.
can. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
hard to find out when stuff
Yeah.
is going on in the community until it's actually happening.
No, well, I mean, anyone who follows your work knows like you do a lot for community. So it's like thanks for all that.
So when I
It's really-
like last night, people, where can I get the photo? I said, just so you know, I'm not giving them away free this year.
Yep.
And then they get shocked. I said, but if you do buy them, that goes to
Right.
help fund doing my charity work.
Yeah. And once you see them, your photos are really good. It's not like just they're special. You got some expensive equipment to make those with.
Well, you can ideally, like the cheaper equipment I started off with, I can probably take the same photos that I do with my expensive upgraded equipment now. Just more convenient having updated equipment, better equipment, but
Right.
it's all about eye and learning. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I've only been in business since October of last year, and I only picked up
It's not too
photography
long.
a little over a year ago.
Right.
And I'm
right.
still learning. I breathe photography every day.
Yep.
Like I told you before, I did take a couple classes.
Yeah.
But I'm always practicing. I'm always networking with other photographers.
Yeah.
And like my teacher for my photography class, he's been helpful on my journey. Like Marone Photography, then there's Dana Only. I talked to her quite a few
Yep.
times.
Yep.
Then I just like networking, and then I get beginners coming to me out in the field sometimes too.
Yeah, so you're for
and I pass on the knowledge. I don't look at
That's
other.
great to pay it forward.
I
you
don't
know?
look at other photographers as competition.
Right.
I look
right.
at them as a way to network, and
Yep.
and somebody's going to hire me based on who I am, my experience, and my work.
Yep.
So I don't let competition work. I don't worry about competition because you have to network at the end of the
It's just
day.
not a good mindset too.
Yeah, and if you network, if another photographer's overbooked,
Yeah.
I've had people reach out to me see if I can cover an event for them.
Oh, that's great. What's the DJing field like, Wayne? Like, you know, with reggae. I mean, there's some competition there, but there must be some camaraderie as well. I would think among DJs and the people like in the community.
Yes, I mean, you have a lot of reggae DJs, but
There's something about music that kind of brings people together.
yeah, with me, I try to stay good on my craft. I try
Yeah.
to keep my craft fresh.
Yeah.
So
How?
I practice a lot, even
Yeah.
though I've been in the business like 38 years.
Yeah.
I practice a lot, and then when new stuff come in, I have to try to mix the old stuff with the new stuff.
Mhm.
I can't put too much of the new stuff in because you lost the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I try my best to just keep it fresh.
It's interesting you say you practice a lot because, like, all the people that I've interviewed here, musicians, actors, however long they've done their craft, sometimes the longer they've done their craft, the more they practice each day because
Yes.
to keep sharp and keep fresh
Yeah.
and to evolve too.
You might have a segment that you would normally play, and then you have 3-4 new hot stuff.
Yeah.
And you got to try to figure that, to put that in, and make sure you put it the right place.
Right.
'Cause
So that
it's
it
new.
blends.
You can't lose the audience. You see?
Right. Right.
So
right.
it's a little tricky, but it
What
works.
do you do when you feel that? I mean, I'm sure there's times like you can, when you're up there, we all know what's like. You can feel if you got the if you got them or if you lose them, and if
Yes.
you lose them, what do you do to get them back?
Okay, so you have hits. So
That you
it's-
can count on, like they're gonna
that-
love this
right.
song.
You have songs that you can say, okay,
Yeah,
these are the songs.
yeah.
Because remember, you're trying to keep the crowd busy at all time.
right.
Sometimes they're gonna take breaks because
And part of
people
you,
want to.
you probably want
drink.
them to go buy some drinks
Right.
too.
So
Not dance all night
You
long.
can't have them just dancing,
Yeah, right.
but you have to have them active.
Yep. Yep.
So they might be okay. I'm gonna have a drink.
yeah.
You want them to buy a drink,
yeah.
so you have to know how to transition
Yeah.
to that. There's a lot of DJs don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Now, when you're gonna do a show,
Yes.
you're talking like they're hours and hours long, right?
Yeah.
So how do you keep track of like the songs you're gonna play? Do you improvise at all, or is it like all set up beforehand, or how
Well,
do you do playlist?
it's all set up, but not what you set up all the time is
Yeah.
gonna work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have a lot of crates and a lot of, so you have to figure it out.
So
you know?
like if you like maybe have an audience that's like a little bit like just not like getting on their feet like sluggish, maybe have like a little bit faster stuff and maybe to get them going a
All
bit.
right, so you can say, okay, we're gonna play at a 50th party tonight.
yeah.
But when you go there, they don't want to hear that type of music.
Right.
So what you do?
What do we do?
You got to start figuring out. You got to play checkers.
You gotta
Yeah.
read your crowd too,
And
right?
yeah, you
Yeah.
got to pay attention. And once you get them, you be like, that's it.
Yeah.
I need to be here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of DJ don't pay attention to that
Because
stuff.
people even if you like it kind of music, like we all kind of like a certain type of we all kind of like music that
Mhm.
we tend to like music that like was big hits when we were teens. It's
Right.
funny how like we all have that kind of thing that we.
Mhm.
So Brian, with you, like say you take a picture of someone, great picture of somebody, and they don't like how they looked, but that is how they looked. What do you do? What do you tell them?
I've told clients in the past, and just people in general, you got to embrace who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, if I get a client and they ask me to edit out certain things, it depends on, if they have a zit, I'll edit it out. But if they have
Yeah.
like a mole or
Yeah.
a birthmark, I try to convince my client that's natural.
To
You have
accept it.
to accept who you are.
Yeah.
And if you take out something that's part of who they are naturally, you're going to change who they are. And
Right.
that's not something I like to do. I'll go
Yeah.
above and beyond. I'll take out pimples and zits and acne for clients without them even asking me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the natural stuff,
Right.
there hasn't been a line crossed yet, but if it gets to that point, I'm going to stick to my guns and
Yeah.
not change the vibe of the photo or how I want.
I see all these like people put these filters a lot, like with
Yeah.
Facebook and stuff, and like I think they're bad because like why do you want to see like this picture of yourself that's like idealized that no one could really look like, that you don't really look like, and then you think like, damn, I don't look like that. You know what I mean? Like,
a lot of those filters,
crazy.
they
it
it
just make you
changes
feel
the,
bad.
I think
It's
it's
like
the clarity on the photo, and it softens it so much, and it
right,
and like you said, it doesn't
Yeah.
make them look real. And
right,
not to talk too much about my personal life, but like I'm on and off dating websites now.
Yeah,
and again,
yeah.
I've been single for 5 years,
right.
and you see that on these dating sites.
And then
too,
you meet them in
it's-
real life, and you're like, who are you?
Yeah, the pictures just aren't who they are.
I
And
know.
I always say embrace who you are.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you end up with somebody,
Right,
then you
right.
want somebody to be with you for who you are, not for.
Yeah.
And then the AIs,
Oh
big
yeah,
too these
right,
days, too.
right, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm always one for embracing who you are. Doesn't matter how big or small you are.
Exactly, right.
If you're not happy with yourself,
Yeah.
I always say do something about it. But
Right.
don't change
And
things
like,
about
if,
you that
like
you
if you
can't.
take a picture of yourself, like you get it altered or you alter it, so like then you're happy with it. Like I think you're kind of like even doing harm to yourself because like you're like kind of saying to yourself, I don't look good enough until like I change this thing.
Well, I think
It's
that's
like,
kind of the
Yeah.
downfall of social media these
Oh
days.
yeah.
And it's even
Right.
worse for our youth these days because the youth
Absolutely.
start doing it.
Right.
And then I think, it can have a long-term impact
All this
mentally on
competition and stuff. Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And it boils down to the same way, like, back in my day, growing up, I'm 47 now, but the way with Hollywood and movies
Right.
and stuff like that, there was a standard set back then
Yeah.
by people based on what they saw on TV or in magazines. And
Right.
nowadays it's more because it's on
Yep.
social media
Yep.
and
Yep.
all these filters. It's just
In the the pressure is so bad. Well, hey, we're talking to photographer and podcaster Brian Lazore and 95.5 FM DJ Baby Wayne. You're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. I'm Ron Klopfenstein, and I'll have more after this break. This is Ron Klopfenstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Hot Seat. I'm here with Brian Lazore, photographer and now podcaster, and Baby Wayne, who's the DJ reggae here at 95.5 FM. The Heat.
Yes.
Over the break, we're talking about AI, and I think that's going to like affect all of us, like
Yeah.
musicians,
Yes.
artists, writers. I have a funny a strange. It's a strange thing for me too because like I actually use AI to write the show notes for these shows.
Mhm.
I edit the YouTube clip, then I post it on YouTube. Then I like take the link, the address to the link, put it into Gemini and say summarize, and then Gemini writes me like a 5-paragraph thing about what happened on the show. And it's like, I do listen to all these shows again, and I do try to I do listen to the shows, and I could write it myself, but Gemini writes it for me,
right.
and I have to change it because
Mhm.
sometimes it can get things wrong.
Right.
But it's like it's a weird line. Like, you know, when like AI, like how are we all going to deal with this? Like, what do you guys think? It's going to affect us all in different
I
ways.
think it has its
so.
good points and bad points, but I think for artists, doesn't matter if you're a photographer, a painter, a musician, a DJ. Once you start abusing it and putting it out there as your own work,
Right.
it's that's where the line gets crossed, and then it's going
Yes.
to take away from other artists who are actually doing the real work
Right.
versus somebody who's using AI and putting it out as their own work.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with utilizing a tool, but you have to be honest about that tool. Like, I've seen, illustrators doing illustration,
Yeah.
claiming it's their work, but I can tell it's AI. You can tell
It's AI.
when the AI makes AI.
Right.
And it's dishonest to the consumers.
And I think the scary thing is, yeah, we can tell when it's AI, but probably in a year, or definitely in 3 years, we won't be able to tell. Like, because it's getting better and better. So Wayne, like, how is it affecting music?
Well, remember, we started playing vinyls.
Yeah.
Remember,
Yep.
we
I
started playing
remember.
vinyls. Then we went from vinyls to CDs.
Yep.
It was more money when it was using vinyls. We could make more money. Then it went from vinyl to CD,
Yep.
and the money dropped a little bit.
Right.
Then it
right.
went to laptops,
Yeah.
to just putting music on a laptop and traveling.
Right.
So now AI is there. You could just create an artist, change a song,
I know.
and you're playing a Biggie
Yeah.
doing Tupac, or
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that's how it is.
I mess around
Right.
with those type of
Mhm,
apps.
right.
And you can even take your own voice and make a song
Exactly.
using your own
Yeah.
voice.
So
these
you
days.
could actually do anything with it now.
So what's going to happen?
Because a lot of artists is gonna lose a lot of money.
Yes, I'm afraid of.
And a
But
lot of-
I think eventually it will lose the hype of using AI because people are going to want original people. Eventually,
I hear some AI
I
sounds
hope,
real
but
good.
I mean, would
yeah,
you
that's
go
what
to an
we-
art gallery and buy art on the wall that I was selling if it was made by AI, not me?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, AI, I mean, now it's kind of obvious, but it won't always be. And, like, you think about, like, a year ago, we wouldn't even be talking about this. And, like, now it's such a thing, and I do worry. Like, what about new artists? Like, how will they ever break through when they got to compete with, record companies will probably want to just create these
Exactly.
AI things to
That's what's
save
gonna
money and
happen.
stuff,
Because they don't have to pay an artist.
Right.
Remember, you
It's a little
used
bit
to,
scary. Don't you think it's kind of scary, Brian?
I think it's scary to a point if it's abused. But
Yeah.
if people are
they used
honest.
to use people to do commercials.
Right.
Now
right.
they use animals, or they use something that they don't have to pay.
Yeah. Or a fake
Or a fake,
person.
you know?
Right. Who sounds just like a real.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah. I mean,
They might pay that person for the voice.
right. Like a one-time thing. Like
Yeah.
like you sell your voice once and
Yes.
they use it forever.
Yeah.
Well, as long as they're getting royalties on it.
Well, if
But-
But
you
it's
know,
not everybody's gonna be that, because
I
like
know.
you would have a big actor with
Right.
a big name.
yeah.
It's not everybody is gonna get that payday.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
right.
I think it boils down to being honesty and not abusing it.
Yeah.
But it is very dangerous, especially with the voice aspect, because
Yeah.
if
People
you
can
heard on the
fake
news in the past,
deep fakes.
there was there's a fraud going around where
Yeah.
people are getting phone calls from
Yep.
family members, and this was on the
Yeah.
news, that their kid is being
It
held
sounds
hostage
just
or
like
something.
them. Yeah.
But their kid's sitting in the other room, or the parent would actually
Yeah.
call their kid, "No, I'm fine. I'm at the store."
Right.
But it's AI. People are abusing the AI. That's why people have to be careful with like these scam phone calls, because
Yep.
sometimes they're trying to pull your voice and get enough data to
yeah.
do these scams.
Yeah. So, having said all that, like, how do you guys go about keeping like positivity, keeping optimistic about your fields and about your art forms and stuff, and
You can answer that first.
you know,
if you want.
and keeping it real. We got to use AI a bit like a tool. I use it like a tool, but I gotta find a way to keep it real too, and we all
Mhm.
gotta.
I think at the end of the day, for me as a photographer and for him as a DJ, I think a majority of people eventually are gonna sway to the point where they want that human interaction experience.
Yeah.
You know, nothing. AI can't replace his personality
Right.
and him being on the stage.
Right, right.
And AI, I doubt will ever be able to read a crowd like he
Right,
can read a crowd.
right.
Yeah.
Same thing with me as a photographer. You know, I can't. I mean, I could probably make a picture out of you with AI, but
Right.
Mhm.
it's not going to be the genuine thing, and people are going to
Yeah.
want genuine. They're not, and they want the experience too.
Yep.
That's why I do these, charity work with, like, for Santa Claus. I did the 3 hour at a Shore Christmas tree farm, and it was an experience for the kids. So there was a real Santa Claus there.
Yeah.
Families came in, got picture with Santa Claus. But it's not about the picture. They could have done it with a cell phone. Majority of the families let me take the pictures
Yeah.
because it's about the experience.
Right. Because it's
So,
really the thing that actually happened. The
Yeah.
thing that happened.
I mean,
not
you
something
can
that
have
just, like,
AI all
appeared.
you want, but at the end of the day, you can't create an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Is
Because
that kind of what
even-
you see with music too?
even with, remember, I play on my laptop now. You have people that still playing finals
Yeah.
all over the world. So they say it doesn't sound as good. So I'm still playing vinyls. Because
Yeah.
vinyls give you that warm feeling.
Right.
But because
right.
we're in it to make money, we can't walk around with all that vinyl.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But some people that has their bass, that
Yeah.
they play from their bass, they have a lot of records.
Right.
So they
right.
still use records.
Yeah.
You know?
You know
AI
what?
can't replace
AI
it.
can't do that. One of the things like I saw like last night too at the Bank of Utica New Year's Eve thing is like that you see that people do want like real experiences, and it's cool to like be down there and to like look up at see the building all lit up and Jay-Z performers and like a real fire and stuff and
I think
I
another.
think people still do want real stuff.
I think
Yes.
for prime example, what was the biggest thing missed during the COVID lockdown?
Just
The
like,
human interaction.
exactly,
Yes,
yeah, right.
You can't
right.
replace that with AI.
Right,
and
right.
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's going to be the winning point for people who
Yeah.
work in fields dealing with other people. Is
Right.
the human interaction aspect.
So who inspires you guys, like in your fields or like in your lifetime? People ask me that a lot, and I always say, for me, like someone who's a hero of mine is Barbara Walters. My whole life, because she blazed the trail for journalists, and she did a kind of journalism that I think was a breakthrough for the time and stuff. And like you probably have people like that too, like maybe in photography or in podcasting now, or in performance or reggae, or just like in general, just like they had such a great philosophy. Like, who are some of those people that have influenced you and continue to?
For me, I originally got interested in photography years ago, not formally, but I was in Iraq in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
and there was photographers there, and they took my picture, and a month later, people are coming to me in my unit. I was in Iraq saying, "Hey, you're in Time magazine."
Really?
So I ended up being in Time magazine in 2003, and then that
Wow.
photographer, I
Wow.
started following his work.
Yeah.
So he was kind of inspiring, but we're
Yep.
really kicked off. When I started photography last year officially, it was to help with my mental health as a combat veteran.
Mm-hmm.
But the artists, the photographers in the community, a big one was Kurt Gardner out of Old Forge.
Yep.
He's a big inspiration. He does landscape animals and things like that. And then I met my teacher at BOCES, Michael Marone Photography.
Mhm.
He's been a real inspiration. And then
Yeah.
as soon as I got out there and started seeing other photographers and following them, they inspired me to try to better myself and keep learning.
Yeah.
And I think you have to find that inspiration.
Yeah.
And I give Kurt Gardner a big shout out. Only a few months in the photography, he sat with me for at least 15 minutes looking at
Oh,
almost
really?
all my photos and giving me tips and advice and telling me how great most of my work was.
That's really great. There'd be, to help.
And that's where he gave me the advice where because I like doing digital art
Yeah.
to some
Yeah.
of my photos,
Right.
but he told me as long as you let your audience know, sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's why, like, if you go on my website, I have a digital art folder
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
Because I could take a picture, like, for example, I took a picture of a rock island on Moose River.
Right.
I have the original photo,
Yep.
but then I took the the clouds out, put in a whole new sky,
Yeah.
and then I can put my own sky pictures in there
Right,
too, and then I
right.
just color it up and make it look artsy.
Yeah.
And the artsy ones actually sold at some of the
Yep.
vendor shows I did.
And that's a valid art form itself too. Like, you know, just label it what it is, and
Yeah.
you know, there's different.
And like, if I want to put a sky in one
Yeah.
of my pictures, I go out and take pictures of different clouds and skies.
Yeah.
I have thousands and thousands of
Kind
sunset
of amazing
clouds
what you
and
can do
pictures.
nowadays.
Yes,
That you can
but,
do that.
But
you
I'm
know?
taking my image and putting it
Mhm.
into another image, so it's
Yeah.
mine. It's
The
not AI
background.
created.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. Well, hey, how about you, Wayne? Like,
Well,
who inspired you then, now, you know?
There was back in the 80s, there was a DJ called, I didn't know his name, but the sound system was Aries.
Yeah,
That was in the area where I born, Maxwell Avenue.
yeah,
And there was a person called Rani. I know his name, Rani. I don't
Yeah.
really know him.
yeah, yeah,
So they invite me to come one night.
yeah,
And I'm just learning this thing.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm hearing this guy.
right.
This time they're using 2 turntables, everything, mic. They use a microphone, and this guy was playing. He was playing disco.
Yeah,
But remember, the way we play disco reggae, we blend it in a certain way. It sounds, real official.
how? Like, how do you do it
Like,
different?
It's on a dancehall
Yeah.
reggae type of flow.
So like a
So-
Donna Summer song, but
Right.
with a reggae kind of
No,
feel
they're
to it?
playing the original records.
Okay.
But they would they would mix from reggae and go into the Donna Summer.
Oh, I see. Or back and
Right,
forth.
so-
Okay. Yeah.
This guy was playing, and that's when I start knowing about blending,
Yeah.
blending, mixing.
Right. Right.
And this guy was on point.
Yeah.
And whenever he breaks to talk,
yeah.
the people was reacting to
Really.
him.
So
And
he
I'm like-
had his
and-
audience. He
Yeah, so I'm
captivated
like,
them.
I'm looking at him, and then I'm looking at the crowd,
Yeah.
and I'm like, he's commanding the crowd.
Wow.
He controls the crowd
Yeah.
because he's toasting it,
Yeah.
but he's doing it so well that the people is actually paying attention to him, looking at him.
yeah.
So he's like, then he would play the instrumental, and he would go into, hold up your body, cause you know you look good. And the people was,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do.
Wow. Wow.
I want to
can
hear
picture that. Yeah.
you
know.
missed the question that we talked about off the air. I went through my phases of music.
Yeah.
And Bob Marley, I went through my Jamaican phase.
Mhm.
For me, Bob Marley was inspiration because, for me, his music was peace. But you said earlier that Bob Marley is the #1
Oh,
Jamaican
okay.
artist. So, what's your thoughts? Why is Bob Marley so great for
Okay,
you?
so Bob Marley now he do a lot of music that, like I said, music hits you and you feel it. And he used to do a lot of music that soothes you and talk about things that's happening in the world. So Bob Marley is he's the greatest. He's one of the greatest person that did it because he knows what the people was happening with the people around the world.
And I think that's happened with me when I was growing up. His music
He touched a lot
vibed
of
with me, and
people.
it touched me. His music, as a teenager, his music had a big impact on me.
And remember when he had the group Bob Marley and the Wailers, and when he was planning to travel, the other groups didn't want to.
Oh.
So he said, "Listen, I'm gonna have to do this because
Yeah.
they didn't want to take the plane
Oh.
because they're Rasta and they didn't believe in the Iron Bird. That's what they used to
Oh,
call
really?
it. Yes.
Really? Wow.
So they didn't
Yeah.
believe in the Iron Bird.
Yeah.
So they said,
So
"Oh,
they didn't want to leave that.
we ain't going."
Yeah.
So Bob Marley said, "Listen, I
Yeah.
have my family to feed.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'm gonna go."
Other than Bob Marley, who should people know in reggae? Like, who should
Okay,
people
so you
listen
have, Bob Marley is the king of reggae.
to? Mm.
Dennis Brown is the prince of reggae.
Okay.
Then you have Marcia Griffiths is the queen of reggae.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Burning Spears.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever heard, but he's very, very popular.
Yeah, like contemporary.
He's reggae, just like
Yeah.
Bob Marley type of stuff.
Okay.
Then you have Steel Pulse.
Yeah.
There's so many artists
Yeah. Yeah.
that does the same
right.
what Bob Marley do.
Yeah.
Bob Marley, he crosses a lot of sea and created that before everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, he got that popularity first.
yeah.
But there's a lot of great artists.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys. So what's up next to wrap up the show? What are you working on? Any shows coming up? And of course, I'll get all this stuff in the show notes, all your links and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, see, Brian. So what are you working on now? I know you got a podcast coming out with
Yeah.
me, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've been doing my photography, Lazore Photography. You can find me online. I started the podcast off the record with Lazore Photography.
Yep.
And I have some other projects in the works. I'm working on a couple books and trying
That's
to
cool.
incorporate my photography in there.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I kind of have some plans. I kind of want to take Lazore Photography on the road this year, if I can do it financially. And I want to do some charity work in various different states and then do landscape photography. But, I mean, the
Well,
sky's the limit when it
I would
comes to
say
photography.
you've come a long way. So the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
So in the few months I've known you, you know, I find you an inspiration.
And I
too,
find
so.
same thing for
Well,
you. I
I'm
find
glad
you
we
an
met each other.
inspiration.
So yeah, well, good to know you guys. So
Yeah.
Wayne, what's up
Well,
next? So you're gonna be so it's Wednesday, not a meeting Monday. So I guess you'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah,
right?
I'll be here
You know?
tomorrow, 6 to 8.
6 to 8. Yep.
Dropping the reggae joints.
Yep.
Letting the people feel the reggae vibes, you know.
Yeah.
And also
Saturday.
I'm doing a lot of traveling right now.
Yeah. So what is Baby Wayne Movement? That's like you.
Okay, so Baby Wayne
do
Movements is a sound system that I built.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was with a bunch of people that I used to be around.
Yeah.
And it's actually equipments that we built, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
you know, big sound system.
Yeah. So like when you travel.
Right.
okay,
So the
yeah,
name fall from that, and my name is Fire Wayne.
Yeah.
And, you know, so
Yeah.
it's actually the sound system.
Yeah.
So we just grew on that.
Yeah.
And there's
yeah.
a lot of people that knows it, and if you Google it or whatever, you'll see it. Baby
Great,
Wayne
and
Movements.
I'll put all that stuff in
Yeah.
the links, you know, and really it's people like you that make this station what it is,
Thank
because
you.
all these other I mean, there's great radio out here, you know, but like this station, it's just regular people like us
Mhm.
talking about regular things or like playing songs that we like, and
Yeah.
this station is like the real thing, you know. So listen, you know, our listeners out there, stay loyal, listen to the
Yes,
advertisers. Go tell those advertisers you heard them on the station, and I will be back next week with another Hot Seat Media Monday. Thank you to my guests, Brian Lazore and Baby Wayne. Now I'm going to kick things over to Jay Easy
Yes.
for the Easy